Hey there, Legionaries. It's Isaac,
And I'm Brandon.
and we just got back from the Ironweld Open event in Wakefield, Massachusetts.
The most important Massachusetts city. Don't think of anything else.
Yeah, no, Boston isn't real. It can't hurt you. If you are a Conquest player, or if you're here like from our YouTube specifically, you're probably confused what's happening here. People who are coming from our stream or our Discord know that we do a lot of different games, not just Conquest, but we have solely focused on Conquest for the YouTube videos. We are branching out a little bit to do 30K. That doesn't mean we're not doing Conquest videos anymore. We're working on some stuff, specifically narrative campaign stuff, but we're taking a small break from that to make a 30K video because we did an event. We're excited about it. We want to talk about it, and that's what we're going to do here. So if you only want Conquest content, you can go ahead and click away now. Bye. We'll see you in the next video.
Yeah, and just talking about this is Wicked Dicey is a New England homegrown event. We've kind of been there since the first big one, or one of the earlier ones?
Second. So I know I missed the first Ironweld.
Yes.
The first Ironweld, I think we hit the first, or I hit the first Everwinter. Yeah, you went there too, because I brought the Nomad Feastmasters. I'm pretty sure that was the first or second Everwinter.
Correct.
And so yeah, we got in on the early end of it. Normally we do go there and play Conquest, bringing it back to that.
Yeah.
But Ironweld did not have a Conquest event this year, so we played Warhammer, Horus Heresy, Age of Darkness, aka 30K 2.0.
So it's a local event. They do 2-year. Everwinter is the one in winter. Ironweld's the summer one. And we decided to take a little bit of a change from our more competitive or tournament focused and do a narrative event. We actually started playing games together a long time ago, and one of the first things what we're going to do is play Horus Heresy at Nova in 2020, and the world had different state for that, so we didn't get to do that. So we have been playing Horus Heresy at events, mainly Nova, for a while, and we wanted to check out what it was like locally, because the question is, if we spend the time and the money go to Nova, is Horus Heresy the best thing to play? Is there something local that we can do that has the same feel? And so we're going to run through our experience with the narrative Horus Heresy at Ironweld and talk through the things we like, how it compares to other events, and memorable moments, I think is the best way to say it. So the first thing I would like to talk about, if that's okay, is the material, which is something I've never seen. So when we go to Nova, they do have some sort of map campaign. They kind of reference a larger thing. But it's not really front and center. It's kind of have to go look for it. This was very different. So the start of the campaign, they actually created a booklet. This was syndicated as a PDF ahead of time, but it actually has set up for the entire event. It has the map campaign. They have a comic that they've went through to kind of set up the narrative. And then they go through all the different missions and special rules, which I thought was a really nice touch, because you could always look at this. And if Isaac and I wanted to continue playing this or do our own version of this with our friends, we have this material here. Yeah. And I thought this was top tier and something I don't normally see at events.
Can I see that? I want to show off one other thing. He talked about the missions. He talked about the special rules and stuff. He didn't talk about the full color army pages. These are people that are involved in that narrative community's actual models being showcased with some lore and just a couple pictures of their army. It's got some additional Photoshop effects of gunfire and stuff. It's really cool, and it's a cool way of getting people in your local community involved. It's got a color plate of legions in the back.
This reminds me of an old, because you started playing 40K similar to I did, 4th and 5th Ed, when they had campaign books, where they were smaller books. They had the forces, they had the models with some Photoshop to make it look like a war. And and I like it. I thought the material was really good, and shout outs to the TO for putting this material together.
Yep, and I also like that it has additional lore. It has an additional reading section at the end, which gives you additional books that you can read, specifically about the Isstvan 5 event, so that you can know more about the lore and narrative, and it tells you their inspirational sources of where they got the ideas for the campaign rules. Nova does not do that.
Does not do this. So that's something that was very surprising in a positive way that they did here. The other thing that was good is, so Isaac and I both played Traitor, so we don't have things from the perspective of the Loyalist. But Loyalist or Traitor, you actually got a little folder.
Dossier, I would call it.
That had like really nice production stamps on it. There's a lot of in-jokes, military kind of jokes there. One side has who you're playing, mission, wins, losses. Then there's like a nice setup. And the one thing that I like is there's a seal that is different between Loyalist and Traitor. So we're Traitor, so we got gray. And again, once again, it's a really nice way of pulling you into the lore, and it also helps set the environment that it's a friendly narrative event. Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
all this material help reinforce that it's not a win at all costs, which I really like.
Yeah.
Because when we go to Nova, half the people you play are just like there to have fun, crack beers, have a good time. But you will run into people who are a lot more competitive focused, and like those games sometimes get rough. And I thought this did a nice job of setting things out. And this provided additional ways for you to earn narrative points to bolster your side. So there were side missions you could do. There was like secret missions. One thing that they did that I didn't really understand how to engage in is there was like a game of werewolf where one person was Alfarius, one person was hunting for them, other people were normal. Based on how the game worked, I don't understand how you're supposed to suss that out. Like that's something that was hard because it's like, in games, I never really understood what people's like secret missions were. I just knew how to play the game. So like if there was like nuances to how they were doing something to give cues, I never picked up on it.
It would have to be something like extremely obvious, like the only way that I could see that working is if you had the explicit secret goal of losing games to represent that you were a traitor for your side.
Yeah.
And so like if you were better at pretending, it would not be as obvious that you were losing a game on purpose. And yeah, I they said that like anything goes, like you could like grab people's folders if they left them unattended and like look. I don't know, that I wasn't going to do that. And like
I don't think most people did too either, because everyone kind of wanted each person to have their own thing. So like yeah, I think it's like one of those things that sounds like a good idea, but in practice, I don't think it really worked out.
Yeah, it sounded fun, but like unless you have a constructed rule set, like Werewolf has a constructed rule set. It has phases that you go through. You as a group like vote people out. If people don't know, Werewolf, Among Us is the same thing. I forget what it's called, but it's like Saboteur or something. It's like a game where you go on missions and you choose 3 people to go on a mission. Then they put like fail or pass tokens. Only the traitor can put fail tokens, and then you suss out like which person failed, and then you figure if you find all the traitors by the end of like 5 missions, you win. Otherwise, you lose. Yeah. Like that kind of situation. Like that's structured, but this was just one of you is Alfarius. Figure it out. I think
it wouldn't need to have, and I'll lead into this, but we'll come back to it, which is maybe in the map phase, if there was more way you could kind of see who's subverting someone, maybe. But like there would have to be but not everyone was around when we did map movement, so I think that is something you would have to kind of
you would
change.
have to have like different colors for each player.
Correct.
And then you could be like, hey, the colors for red are pretty subversive.
Yeah, that's not where we're supposed to be protecting.
Yeah, that's exactly against what we talked about in the Traitor group huddle. Like, yeah, just a little bit more structure in methods of how to suss out Alfarius and/or have Alfarius do things that are completely obvious on the table that makes them Alfarius. But that's my recommendation for that. Like you said, I didn't engage with it at all.
Yeah,
I hid my folder when I left the room.
I did too. Yeah.
And if I came back and I remembered that I left my folder, I would be like, oh, who else was in the room? But no one seemed like they looked at it.
Yeah.
So
and the one thing I want to summarize is this one thing not kind of firing when everything else was doesn't detract. I don't think I've lost anything by not engaging with this one mechanic.
Actually, I'm going to talk a funny anecdote. At one point, there was a large spider in the room, so I captured the spider in a cup and I grabbed a nearby folder and put it on. In order to get outside, I had to walk across pretty much the entire building, put it outside, and then walk back. No one stopped me from grabbing the folder. I did not actually look at it, but I easily could have, and no one would have called me on it. Like no one seemed to care.
I remember
I literally
that.
just grabbed
the.
I grabbed, and I honestly thought it was yours, and then I saw the name on the cover, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And I came back and I put it down, and no one was like, hey, what were you doing with that folder or anything? Like, okay. Anyway, I think that's enough talking about the folders.
One thing, so there is the TO brought a TV, and the TV did two things. So
Oh,
one
yeah.
is between each phase, and then there was different epilogues depending on who won and how. There was animated sections where he took different avatars from the different characters in the campaign and had them talk and explain the lore, where they were in the mission, as well as the rules to affect the next phase. So like one phase, the traders got bonuses to reserve roles. And could always put their units in reserve, but the loyalists were always stubborn or whatever. So there's a bunch of different things that were queued up, and they were all narratively told. So like the first part is like, we're going here to crush these traitors, blah blah blah, and then like the Night Lords are here to reinforce us, so we're not going to get wiped out. And then like 2 seconds later, it's like they weren't our friends.
Yeah, the Night Lords have betrayed us.
And it was really nice because it helped build and pull you in further, which was nice, and the rules made sense for the phase. And I thought that was a really nice way to pull you into the experience. And once again, Nova has a story, but unless you're like sitting next to TO and actively kind of like following it every stack, it was hard to like always follow, especially since it's a multi-day event. Where this, I felt like everyone it started the day, you played the video and you went. And I thought the production was really good. I know that it used some AI tools and stuff like that to do it, but I think like that's the fun part of AI, which is
it wasn't for profit.
Correct. Let some guy get a little bit more value out of something and have fun, and no one was it was.
Yeah. Don't take us as AI apologists here. AI is trash, garbage, but this was a completely innocuous use of it. No one was going to get paid to make this in the first place.
And I do believe
they weren't
made
selling
the comic
it.
Actually did get
They paid for an actual artist to do the comic part. They didn't just generate AI art or anything. And like I said, the photos that are in that pamphlet are of real people's models with like enhancements and stuff. None of that's AI. The AI is literally just let me make the portrait move and do some voices. And so you could say that the voice actors were harmed by that, but also it's again not for profit, and this isn't getting posted on the internet as like, look at this thing that I made with my hands. This is for 30-second clips for a cool little campaign for the weekend. So this is the closest to AI apologism that I will ever be. This is
No, 100%. Yeah, like this is the good part about like let some guys do let a bunch of people have some fun for a weekend, and then that's it.
This is on the same level as people who make like the Space Marine covers of songs, and like having Kiryu from Yakuza sing a silly song with the voice or with the mouth moving of his portrait.
Oh yeah.
Or like this is like even the same level as those things that take your pet pictures and like
that's what
make
I
them
would
talk.
I was gonna say
like that's what it's comparable to. It's not like the people who are like, check out this cool art I made, and it's like clearly 8-fingered anime chick. Yeah. Anyways.
And then the second phase that they use with this is between rounds they would put it back down, and then they would display a map, and there was cool like artifacts on it, so it looked like a video map. And then it was divided into hexes, and then you could they had point values based on the item there. So like a fortress was worth 5 points, the open area is worth none, and you had to move your little cubes. And there was like, depending on if you won, lost your game, you got different amounts of deploy, move, kill. For doing the submissions, you could also get additional plays on the map, and that was like kind of one of the things. So you could score by doing your faction bonuses, you could score by scoring on the map, and you could score by winning. So there's a few different ways to impact the score, and I think traders only did well on the map.
Yeah. So there was 3 overall categories. It was the actual results of the game, where it was worth like 2 points for a win, 0 points for a loss, 1 point for a tie for both players. Those points were all tallied up, and they represented a quarter of your points. The map of your team's points. So if the Loyalists won 11 games, they got 22 points. Okay, Traders won 14 games, they got 28 points. That kind of thing. Yeah. The map, there was a bunch of areas where you had victory points for having cubes on it at the end of like the entire campaign. That was worth 25% or 50% or whatever. It was 25%.
Then there's the wall missions.
There was wall missions, which were very narrative, like highly narrative specific. Correct. Like have Fulgrim cut off Ferrus Manus's head
Yep.
in a game.
Some of them are a little more general, like Sons of Horus are trying to kill the leadership. So when they killed like an HQ, which didn't happen, he was our only Sons of
I
Horus
was the
player.
only Sons of Horus, and no one presented an HQ to me, and I wasn't bringing like sniper recons.
Yep.
So like, what was I supposed to do? No one sent a melee HQ at me, which I think was I guess technically the Salamanders player did, but I walked away because of the primary objective.
Oh, you played the okay, yeah.
I played the actual mission rather than the side mission, but I should have done that charge. It was like an 8 or a 9-inch charge, and if I failed, then he charged me and I lost.
Yeah, you
so
don't
like,
want that.
you know, folks, I was trying to play tactically. Okay.
And then each of us had like our own special mission. I think this is where the Alfarius. Mine, I could pick 3. One of it was win 2 games versus the same Legion. And you had to pick your Legion beforehand. I picked Raven Guard because everyone I played for the first 4 games, I think, or 3 games was Raven Guard. Newsflash, I won 1 game. So did not take that one.
Mine was win a mission that involved a stronghold assault, and none of the boards had strongholds to assault except for I think one, but I played on that
one.
The
first one, yeah.
But,
that's the only stronghold I would say, yeah.
Well, so I played on that one, but the mission was unrelated to a stronghold assault.
Yeah.
It just was on the map, so I didn't think it counted. It turns out there was 2 missions where it directly related to a stronghold assault in the pamphlet, but I just did not end up playing any of those.
Makes
so
sense.
I literally could not achieve it. But I chose it before I knew that. I think the other one was just like, put my guy in enemy territory.
Oh, that one. I had one where it's like win 2 games against an opponent. Like one I think was keep your Praetor, keep your HQ alive.
Easy.
No, my guy died every game. Sorry, every game except the one game I won.
Sounds like a skill issue.
No, my guy is always in danger because he's a melee Praetor. He's always in the thick of it.
Same.
You didn't play the Alpha Legion guy with the sniper.
Yeah, okay. Well,
second activation. Anywho, but yeah, so there was some of that. And so those 4 items went into the score. I think from a standpoint of teams, the traders, we did a really good job organizing on the map. And I think
they were scattered in disarray, and the loyalists. Sorry, I'll let you finish. And
I was going to say, yeah, in general, I think we all like talked to each other. So when someone was going to win or lose, they're like, I'm going to move here, make sure you reinforce this area. Which was good. I think one thing you pointed out was there was a period, I think end of day 2, that it looked like the Loyalists were beginning to work together.
Yes. So, like, effectively what it seemed like happened is the Loyalists started off really scattered and were just kind of like doing whatever.
Yes.
They were doing things opportunistically. Then it seems that they did gather together, but they focused on a completely irrelevant target for a lot of like of the end of day 2.
Yeah.
It was like a 3-point objective. Like, for context, the traders at this point had like 24 points, and the Loyalists had 11 points on the hex map, and they were fighting over a 3-point. Like, they were investing tons of resources in a 3-point area. And then, like, the traders seemed like they were also playing into it. Like, there was a little back and forth going there. But then, like, we kind of just were like, no, let them have that point. It's a 3-point swing. They go to, like, 14. We go to 18. Like, we're still in the clear.
I feel we were playing let's do a little, like, if I can deploy 1, move 2, it's like deploy 1 at the point they're looking at and then do stuff over here because they're like, they're invested.
Yeah.
This is obviously the linchpin to their entire army.
Yeah.
And I think we played with it just enough so they didn't lose focus, which was great because, I think we won there.
One of the funniest things that I think happened, and I want to be clear, I do think that this is funny. I'm not being sarcastic about this. At one point, there was a trader player who asked me what we should do. And the Loyalist guy who had played the game with him kind of like took a couple steps away. And so I started talking with the trader guy about what we should do. I pointed at some specific hexes and said, oh, do this, this, this. And then the Loyalist guy comes up, like just walks right up to the board to the person in charge, says, I would like to spend 3 narrative points and completely erase like the hex that I was talking about, like
100%.
focusing on. Like just completely like eavesdropped on everything that I said. to everything I said to the other trader guy, and just completely just made that a non-option to start, like, before the trader guy had a chance to do anything. And it's like, okay.
It's good because it forces you, because you're supposed to step away.
Yeah,
and stuff.
you're so
we got
like,
complacent.
it's called spy. It's
Yeah.
called spying. And that was effective. Like, if I really wanted to play the game, I would have protected that information better. And that's how you know I'm not Alfarius. Or maybe I was, and I was purposefully feeding him info. I was not Alfarius. No, there was no Alfarius that weekend.
One of the guy who had the folder with the Alfarius apparently left and didn't reveal himself.
So that was
challenging.
another bummer thing about it. To go back to talking about the folder, some people left without like reporting their thing. So there was actually 3 secret roles. There was Alfarius.
Yeah, the Hunter of Alfarius.
Yes, the Hunter of Alfarius, and then Omegon.
Which was so Alfarius was trying to do his task. The Hunter got points for finding Alfarius and like killing him or whatever. And then Omegon, if he found the savage or the person looking for Alfarius, got points and then allowed Alfarius to do like his secret mission.
Canceled out any like set the points of the Shadow Hunter or whatever to 0.
Yeah.
So even if they did find Alfarius, it didn't count, and then gained points himself. So like, I don't think any of those people were there at the end.
The Hunter was there. Actually.
Oh, okay.
But he's like, I don't know anyone who it was. I think one of the people who left early on because they had other commitments. Some people just showed up to play one game and left, which like I get it.
Yeah.
They want to support the community. There's a good group there. So I think some of them might have had it. So yeah. So those are kind of the main ways. So like we did well on the board. We didn't do great on the missions and stuff. We played a lot of missions. So we played a total of I think 6 missions, right?
Six. Yeah. There was one Friday night, which was a game 0. It could count towards your total, but wasn't an official mission. 3 games on game 2, 2 games on day 3.
Yep. The one I'll talk not about game stuff, but about location stuff. One thing I like about where Ironweld was held this year.
Okay, the venue. I'm gonna put a card in the video titled 3 or something, period, the venue.
Oh, 100, yeah.
And then I'm gonna bookmark it in the YouTube video.
The venue, so the room, we had 2 rooms, so each room had 4 games going, so they always stayed really cool. It was in a nice end of the building. There was plenty of tables and space to put stuff, so it was very well put together. You're about a 5 or 10 minute walk from like a little open air like mall or plaza thing, and that had a ton of food options. So after the first game of the night, we went to Yard House, which is like a steakhouse, got a burger and a beer. We one point we finished our game and we didn't have a lot of time, so we walked over, got Chipotle, and then ate it as we walked back, and literally walked in as the last person reported the game.
Yeah,
there's just a lot of stuff.
Timing.
It was just really good. You didn't have to eat on premise if you didn't want to. There was a lot of options, so like you could always get something different. The venue kept the water. There was water canisters all over, and they were stocked, and it was great because you never felt like you were dying or obligated to buy something expensive. So I thought like the venue and everything was really, really good.
Yep, I loved the venue. I've had issues with the venues that Wicked Dicey has worked with in the past. Yeah. Not to like say Wicked Dicey intentionally chose bad venues or anything, or was like intentionally cheaping out. I just think that the venues probably sold them on a certain idea, and then it turned out that the venues were kind of crap. Like in direct counter to what he was just saying, one venue I remember I was thirsty the entire time. I was dying of thirst because they had like one thing of water they never refilled, and I think the expectation was that you spend $5 on like a Coke or something.
That was the last. That was the last Everwinter in Waltham. Yeah, that place. And Wicked Dicey was not. We talked to one of the people, and they said they had other problems. They didn't go into it. They're very professional, but they said they didn't. There was other stuff behind the scene. Yeah.
So like I said, it wasn't. I'm not saying that Wicked Dicey chooses bad venues. I'm just saying that one of the venues that they chose was bad in comparison to this one. It's heaven and hell. It's ridiculous. Like, if they could have every event this is the second time Ironweld has been at the event, so I hope that Ironweld consistently stays at this place because it's amazing.
Rooms are nice, parking's great, close to the place.
Problem with Everwinter is it's bigger. This hotel, I think, can't accommodate the Everwinter event, which is why they have to shop around, and they've been hit or miss with Everwinter events because they've been growing, which is great.
Which we love.
We love, and we love to see it. We want more people to come to our local events so that we don't have to drive 8 hours to Nova.
Yeah.
Anything else about the venue?
No, that's just good.
right.
We can talk about the raffles and stuff at the end. We can talk about some of our
Yeah.
memorable stuff. So like
Part
obviously,
4, the games.
I like
I
it.
don't know. Yeah.
So we're not going to go through each game like
Turn by turn.
but we want to talk about some of the goods and bads. So I
Yeah.
played World Eaters. It was kind of I was trying to build a bunch of assault marines and have a specific army comp, but because issue 3 printer, I wasn't able to get them built and painted, so I went with kind of what I had. So it was a little bit of everything. It was a fun list, but it wasn't really like the most optimized. But my big unit was I had rampagers with a praetor that needed to jump into the enemy's face and cut them up. So like if that worked, great. If it didn't, wasn't gonna have a good time. And they sometimes didn't make it. I'm gonna talk about the first night because that put me at a low place, not because my opponent was bad, but because how bad I was defeated. So the first night I played a loyalist player who was loyalist Alpha Legion. He had a really well put together army. Army was painted. He was a great guy. He's actually the one of the owners or whatever of Alpha Omega Games. If anyone's local in the area, really good. But he had a good list, and he had like things work well and mine didn't. And
His strategy is kind of counter
because
to yours.
he's got a lot of range. He had headhunters,
like not intentionally like.
That's
ongoing,
just how. Yeah, that's how they play. Like Alpha Legion's got the snipers, and I got the berserkers who run in combat.
Yeah.
So he took out my apothecary attached to the unit with the praetor in it for first action. The second one, he just shot my praetor, and I was like, short game.
Yeah.
I didn't get much hay in that game, but it still was a very fun game, and I've never played against Alpha Legion, so I had fun.
Which is weird because one of our local players is a huge Alpha Legion
but
guy.
he's a traitor. I'd never play against him. I was on the same side as him.
That's true. Yeah. Because you never play games against other traders like me.
You're the only one I do. I don't. The only
Yeah.
time I've ever played like Curmudgeon, who's the Night Lord Lord's player, is when we do a team game.
Yeah.
But I've never played him 1-on-1. So that was kind of like I was like, oh no, is everyone? But other than that, no one ran like super optimized, and I don't think he was like outside. It was just like my list is just things I have painted, and I think his list had a little bit more intentionality. So that was kind of like the oh no, my rampagers couldn't make a charge to save their life. So like 3 times I kept failing and then he got full reactions, and it's just like. It's one of those things where when you whiff a lot, it hurts. Once again, great game, great opponent, just like couldn't make things click. So that's kind of like the low point for me, just because like I said, I couldn't feel I could do anything to impact the game.
Nowhere else to go but up.
Correct. So like the high point for me is the third game I played, Corax was on the table. Second time playing a Primarch. I played a Primarch earlier in the game, but it was kind of like a mega battle. We didn't really click. Because of the amount of stuff and time, we didn't really get into the game. But the third game I played a Raven Guard player. Deliverers and everything were just like really hard, but I was fighting, and then Corax came in, and my Rampagers charged, and in one activation, we killed Corax. And you might be like, well, Brandon, was it the Praetor? No. He did not get the last hit. Well, was it the Rampagers with their Phalanx and Weapon Skill 5? No. The last damage was done by the attached Weapon Skill 4 Apothecary with Phalanx Blade. I thought he was going to live with 1 life, and he's like, cool. The player was like, cool, you went through, I got 1 life. And I was like, wait, before we end combat, I still have 1 Apothecary. I roll him separate because his Weapon Skill's 4. You can't mass roll with weapons. 3 attacks hit on the charge because it's 2 plus 1 for the Phalanx plus 2 for charging, so 5.
God.
And, I'm looking for like 6s or something. It might be 5s. I think it's 5s. But like I'm looking because Weapon Skill 5 was like 7 or whatever. And then it's like, okay, I need 4s to him, but I got to get the Phalanx Blade. I rolled 3 of them, and then he has Invos, and I think he made 1 out of 3, and then ended up dying. So it was great. My Apothecary was the Apothecary who could. And that was just a highlight for me. I ended up losing the mission because he was able to get to kill the objectives who were guarding Auspex, and we couldn't. He just had too much forces to get around. But I did complete one of my mission objectives to win, to kill a unit above hands, and it was a morale victory for killing or driving away Corax in the narrative. So that was like a very high point for me. What about you? Good games, bad games, left games?
I ran Sons of Horus, and I did change my list several times throughout the event because that was allowed. I wasn't doing it to list tailor. I would decide on a list before I even knew my opponent. And I would just be like, this is what I'm going to play for the next game, the next 2 games, whatever. I had already decided it, but I was switching things around. The first list I ran for the first 2 or 3 games was a small unit of Justarin bodyguarding a Esoterist Centurion console, and his whole thing was that he would summon 9 Demon Brutes. before you yell at me about lore, the lore justification here is that Gal Vorbak did exist in the Word Bearers Legion at Isstvan 5. Like, before that point, like, they were unleashed on the Loyalists at Isstvan 5. The idea is that there were the warrior lodges where people from different legions did interact with each other and, like, exchange esoteric knowledge and stuff. So one of the Word Bearers who was summoning demons to create the Gal Vorbak taught my esoterist the arts of esotericism. That's a real word, I promise. So there is fluff for why I had demons on Isstvan 5, and if you don't think that that works, I'm sorry. You are very special as a person, and I love you.
Everyone seemed to like it. The feedback from the TOs was we didn't want a whole army because it wasn't that common. But
right.
There's literally stacks of skulls being stacked up by the world eaters to try to, you know what I mean?
Yeah, like demons make sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, people thought it was awesome. I had finished up painting. I had a blast. So low point and high point. At one point, I ran a Spartan full of Justarin and a Typhon. So literally, like, that was my entire 2,000 point list. And then I had like a tactical Marine squad. I think I was running Pride of the Legion, so the Justarin counted as a troop.
Okay, that's how you got that.
But
okay.
And then I dropped the Spartan and replaced it with some Predators for like the last couple games. But anyways, my low point, probably the first game that I used the Typhon, my enemy has a Melta/melee Leviathan Dreadnought and is playing Iron Hands. I move the Typhon slightly forward. I shoot once. It misses by 1 millimeter. The blast scatters off of the Leviathan. Misses by 1 millimeter. Leviathan walks forward. I realize that it is going to kill me with the Melta. I move forward so that I can tank shock. Well, actually, I thought that I could survive 1 round of Melta. So I move forward anticipating that the Melta would do some damage, but I would still be able to tank shock. And then I was hoping that the tank shock doing like 2d6...
Because it's like
literally like 2d6 plus 6 or d6 plus 6. It's like a lot of strength 12 attacks.
Correct.
And no, it doesn't have AP, but like that's just enough attacks. I think it was more likely to do more damage than the actual Demolisher cannon. So that's what the thought was. Well, if I had done any amount of measuring or planning, I would have known that I only needed to move about 1 inch forward and I would still be outside of Melta range, which would mean that the Leviathan wouldn't be able to shoot me at all.
Yeah.
It would be able to charge me, but I think its charge was much less threatening. And then I would still be able to tank shock out of that charge and maybe shoot something behind it as well. But what happened was I just blindly moved myself 6 inches forward, thinking that it didn't matter at that point. Then the Leviathan just shot at me. And it turns out that gun is Melta. It's 5 shots.
I was just gonna, the
5
Melta
shots.
Or
yeah.
Yeah.
And so it had like Melta in its other hand and stuff. So it like shot a total of like 6 Melta shots at me in Melta range, and it obviously did the 6 hull points it needed to do and wrecked my Typhon.
It sounds like it at least didn't get the explode. Like you hit
I don't think it
goes,
exploded. Yeah. No. So that was a huge bummer because obviously when you put a 425 point unit in your list and it drives forward, misses, and then gets exploded immediately, that's kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
And then like the high point of that specific game was the Justarin got out of my Spartan in another section of the map. And then a Contemptor and the Leviathan charged. I overwatched the Contemptor, and with their Bane Strike combi bolters, I did 6 wounds to the Contemptor and destroyed it.
That is what. Okay, so just for context, Isaac told me he hit a high point because he Bane Strike boltered a Dreadnought to death, and I was like, that is awesome because that's not likely. So that's awesome. I didn't know it was during a reaction.
Yeah.
So literally, you're just like they run, and you're just like boop, 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 and just like hit all the number. Amazing.
Yeah, like
amazing.
wounds on 6s, but also has breaching 6. So all the wounds were AP2, and he didn't pass a single one of the invuln saves.
Amazing.
Or he might have passed 1 or 2, but like I got enough hits because I'm ballistic skill 5 twin linked. So like all of them hit, and I just rolled a bunch of 6s.
Can't beat boxcars.
The high point, I think that would be the high point, I guess. In general, I think it was a high point. There was another Iron Hands player. I played 3 Iron Hands players, by the way. There was another Iron Hands player that I played against. that I took a massive risk in deployment. One of the special rules that we got from the narrative phase was traders could outflank, and they got +1 to reserve rolls. So I outflanked my Typhon, 10 Justarin with a Praetor and 2 Predators. And I put it on one of his board edges. And like he blocked me off, obviously, because that's the smart thing to do. And eventually, I was like, if I can, because I can tank shock from reserves, and if I fail, it just bounces me back to reserves. Well, so this is technically where Raw, I believe, it falls apart. So we came to an agreement that if the tank shock doesn't completely bring on board, I just go back into normal reserves per the rules of Outflank Assault, where if you cannot fit units on the board, they go back to normal or go back to reserves. So we agreed to that before I did any funny business. Then we started resolving it. I do my 1 tank shock. I kill like 1 or 2 Medusan Immortals. They're leadership 10. They don't fail the fallback test. And the guy is like, I'm not going to fail. I'm leadership 10 and stubborn. Like, we can re-rack the game. And I'm like, no, I did a big risk. I'm looking for the big reward. You might fail, and if you don't fail, then I've just lost this game. The second time I try it, because you can't outflank assault from turn 1, so it was like turn 3. Tank shock. I kill like 3 guys, and he's like, all right, leadership 10, rolls it, rolls an 11. His guys run off the board. Gives me enough room to fit the Typhon and all 10 of the Justarin behind it. So his 10-man las cannon squad with Cognis Signum can't shoot at the Justarin because the Typhons
there's a big
no, they
tank?
can, but there's only like a few visible, so their damage is super limited because the Typhon is blocking most
So
of them.
that you can do like you can kill 1 or 2 maybe. You can
Yeah,
only
so-
kill what you, amazing.
Yeah, they shot like, I think like 9 of the cannons had line of sight. 9 of their Volkite guys had line of sight to the Justarin as well. But like, they're Terminators. They tanked like all the damage.
2 up, 4 ups, right?
The las cannons did end up killing a couple guys, but it was blocked on how much they could actually kill because of the Typhon blocking line of sight. And then the Typhon shot, which in retrospect, I think I shouldn't have been able to do because I tank shocked from reserves. But I think it only ended up killing like 3 guys anyways. But yeah, I charge into the Volkite, lose some more guys in Overwatch. Did another misplay where I thought that the Overwatch wounds counted as combat resolution.
Yeah.
And then somebody was like walking, one of the TOs was walking by, and I was like, oh, my Justarin just lost combat against a heavy support squad because, you know, they did a bunch of wounds in Overwatch. And like he quietly goes over, opens up his book, looks at it, and like when it's a quiet moment, he goes, by the way, that's not how that works.
Nice.
And I'm like, oh, okay. But yeah, the point of all this story is my high point there was that I ended up winning that game where I put 2 tactical squads and a Rhino on the table to start and outflanked literally like 1,700, 1,800 points of army, and was able to make just enough of a beachhead with just powerful enough units that, yes, the Typhon died almost instantly. The Predators, when they came on the board next turn because there wasn't enough room for them behind the Justarin, did get blasted by a Contemptor with multi-melta and die. But the Justarin chased off the Volkite squad. They chased off the las cannon squad, which did actually result in a second hype moment where, because his units were so spread out and I was attacking at such a weird angle because of how outflank worked and like the Typhon was blocking stuff, I could only kill like 3 or 4 models in close combat because people couldn't pile in close enough. So like I killed 3 like of his las cannon guys. He runs away. They have a Vexilla, so they don't run off the board. They're all bundled at the edge of the board. They rally, and I'm like, oh, you can still fire snapshots. And he's like, okay. Literally every single one of them rolled a 6 to hit.
That's hilarious.
Literally every single one of them rolled a 6 to hit. And it's like, okay, they were destined to do that. Granted, at this point, my Praetor did have toughness 5 from his Warlord trait, Blessed by the Dark Gods. And so he was able to,
Nice.
I rolled a bunch of 4-ups because of his Iron Halo, and they didn't cause instant death. So he was literally down to 1 wound after that. And I was like, I mean, the fact that you got like 4 or 5 6s from your regrouped squad, insane. I like basically barely won on kill points because I had so few. It was a kill point unit mission where infantry and dreadnoughts were worth 2 points each. Everything else was worth 1 point each. Because I had tactical marines and a Rhino, so that would have counted as 4 points for the tactical marines, 1 point for the Rhino. But they did not engage in the game. They hid in my deployment zone behind cover the entire game. So they basically were non-factors. Then my Justarin would have been worth 2 points.
Okay.
They were a retinue, so they counted as the same unit. So that's 2 points for 11 Justarin and the Praetor. So you would have had to kill every single one of them to gain 2 victory points. Typhon, 1 victory point. 2 Predators, 1 victory point total because they were a 1 vehicle squadron.
Oh, amazing.
So like literally, I had like 4 or 5 points on the board for him to score. The unit I tank shocked off the board, 2 points.
Yes.
The Volkite heavy support squad, 2 points. I scored some secondaries. I forget which ones, but like yeah, at the end of the game, like I won by 1 point because he blew. He got 2 points. One for the Typhon, 1 for the Predator, and then he did not kill my Justarin. And so he didn't get any points for that. And yeah, it was fantastic.
This mission scoring is the one way that you can say tanks are better, right?
Yeah.
If you were a Contemptor and you lost 1 unit, if one of those tanks was a Contemptor, you would have.
Yeah, I would have given up 2 points. So yeah, thank you, mission scoring. So yeah, that was my big win. My high point, I guess, because I won against a player who had a way, I would say, stronger list. The conditions were way against my favor just because of needing to make a leadership 10 stubborn unit fall back from a tank shock off board in order to do anything in that game.
And I think it also was good in the fact your Lord of War, the big centerpiece model, and Justarin as well, did the things. Like, it feels like the games that the game I didn't like, the thing, like the centerpiece models, the elite rampagers didn't connect, so it's just like,
Yeah.
But like, same thing with the low point, like your Lord of War blew up, but like when it clicks, it feels good. You're like, I did the thing.
Yeah. The one thing that could have made that an even higher point is if my Justarin got in combat with the enemy HQ, because that's what Sons of Horus do. They do spearhead assaults to the HQ. But the way things were laid out, his HQs were like on the other side of some terrain, so I had to fight my way through the heavy support squads around my Typhon, and then I could have gone back down south to fight his HQs. But yeah, we didn't have enough turns in the game. What's part 5? Because that was games.
Oh, I was going to go through the ending and final words.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So we ended up, I think the Loyalist won 72 to like 28 or something. We kind of got smashed.
We got blowed out because the Loyalists were losing, or the Traitors were losing games but winning on the map.
Yep.
And the Loyalists were the only ones who were scoring secret objectives effectively.
Yep. So it still is Isstvan 5, so even with them winning, most of them died. Because that's, it was not a fair fight there. But there was a nice closing video that kind of like summarized what was happening and everything, and I thought that was a really nice way to end the day. And the everyone I played was really a good person. No one was rough. Everyone seemed to want to be there to have a good time.
Yep.
The New England 30K group does a good job putting things on, and there's a good spirit among everyone. Everyone was very good to help each other out. If there was differences with rules, everyone wanted to work through it together. They would like you said, like I know there's times we were trying to figure out a rule book and someone would just grab their book and look through and help. And I just thought it was a very cool collaborative environment, which was great. So once again, really appreciated that. I know at Nova, like the first year I went to Nova, played Nova at Horus Heresy, was in the team event. Someone got really drunk and was ramming players with their cart. And it felt more than just accidental. They were trying to like and it was kind of like weird because I didn't know how to deal with this. Where at Ironweld, everyone was really great. Everyone was a good person. I would go and get a beer with everyone, which was really cool. So I thought it was really good event there. I don't know.
Yeah, for like a direct comparison of like Nova to Ironweld, Nova is a much bigger melting pot, so it has a lot more different types of people who are interested in different things. Whereas I think Ironweld, the community is smaller. The event draws in a smaller, more related community. I think most people already did know each other to some extent, or knew of the people that were there already. I think we were the most outsiders there for the most part.
Yep.
Whereas at Nova, there's like a core crowd, and then there's people from all over who came for the spectacle of the Nova Open convention.
Correct, yeah.
Who are also playing 30K. And so it doesn't have quite that matchup of expectations that this did, where I think everyone kind of showed up.
And it was, like you said, more intimate because there's, I think, 12 or 16 players.
Yeah,
So you
definitely
got
more
to
intimate.
know people. Like, thinking about that, like, I think there's like 24 tickets for Zone Mortalis. And, like, I know I said a few things, but, like, in general, Zone Mortalis is, Nova's 30K has been good. It's just, like you said, there's so many people. You play them
Yeah.
once, and then you don't play them against them again, so you never really build that. Where here, like, we had the different phases in the map phase to kind of, like, rally with our team so we could kind of be on the same
Talk
page.
with your allies. Yeah, there's none of that interactive element in any of the Nova events I've
Correct.
been to where, like, you need to collaborate with people. It's just play and report your games, and then sometimes the closing ceremony has, like, a little fluff blurb, but I've never really felt connected to a narrative. And I know, like, every time I go to Nova, I find out, like, the result of the narrative, like, 3 days later on a Facebook post or something.
Correct,
Like,
yeah.
I don't, maybe I'm not invited to them, maybe I'm missing them somehow, but, like, the closing, like, ceremony of the narrative just, I don't know when that's supposed to happen, if they do one. I don't know how you're supposed to find out, like, this information. It's not in the pamphlets, I don't think.
Exactly. Yeah, that's
If you're one of the Nova people, please tell me that it is in the pamphlet and I'm just an idiot. I welcome that, because I would at least like to know, like, I'm doing something wrong here. And I would like to know what it is so I can correct it for next time I go to Nova, so that I can figure out whether we won Beta, Theta, Garmin, or whatever. Like, I think the last few years it's literally been Beta Garmin, Theta Garmin, but, like, there hasn't really been theming of armies compared to this, like, where everyone...
No, there was, like, a specific
4
list of
Iron
armor.
Hands, 3 Raven Guard, 3 World Eaters. All of those are, like, legions notable for being at Isstvan 5. Whereas every time I go to Nova, it's like, it might have a name like the Battle for Theta Garmin 4, and then people just show up and bring whatever they're bringing, which is fine.
Correct.
To be clear.
Yeah. I think that's, like, the problem with 40K, which is how do you do a 40K narrative event that applies to everyone?
Yeah.
How many missions do you have? Tau, Orcs, Votan, Space Marine, Imperial Guard, Sisters of Battle,
easy.
Elder.
You have Imperial Force, you have Chaos Force, and then Xenos Force.
It's true. The Tau and
Tyranid are well known for working together with
exactly.
orcs.
Correct. So I think that's one of the hard parts about a larger event, with that you have, get more people. But I thought this did it well. The other thing that I thought was really cool was we were very lucky, or I was very lucky. I don't know how you say that, which is there was great prize support from the event and the TO.
Yeah.
There
Speaking
was
of Wicked Dicey.
Yeah, Wicked Dicey, excellent here, which is cool. And you don't have to win some. It's in the other room. I should have set
Dang
it up. In retrospect, for the actual event, you when you play people, you give your opponent tickets to say, like, it's a good game. You write your name in. There was one of the new Space Marine battle forces, so the Mark III Marines, Daredeo and Proteus. There was one army box for Auxilia. There was a Mark VII box. There was, like, an Imperial the Auxilia command box.
Yep.
So there's, like, 4 or 5 boxes out there. There were some tokens and some other things, and then you could put your name into stuff. And that was really good prize support. Like, at the last Nova,
Yeah.
they did raffle, and I got some. I got 10 Mark VII Marines, which ended up being my Rampagers. So
Mark 6.
Mark 6, sorry, Mark 6 Marines. Yeah, my Mark. Yes. So thank you, because those did get used. But we went all in on the Auxilia as a cool force to add to our main force, and I was lucky enough to have my ticket drawn.
Yeah.
And then I paid money for an arm length of tickets for Wicked Dicey's generic raffle, and I won.
Like Zone Mortalis, like third-party Zone Mortalis terrain.
Yeah, third-party Zone Mortalis terrain. I got $20 to a local game store. I got the Age of Sigmar / Warhammer Fantasy Mausoleum terrain.
Oh, yeah.
And then I got
incredible.
One other thing, I think, which is just, like, wild. I didn't expect that. And buying the armful of tickets got me a free T-shirt. I would have just bought the T-shirt.
Yeah,
that was just
incredible prize support.
Which is great for the local shops, for the place. But it was really fun way to end the day, to kind of have something, a project to build going forward.
Yeah. End result, a final message. Go to Everwinter January 3rd, I think, in 2025. Then enjoy that so much that you go to Ironweld next June-ish, and come play these events with us. If they bring Conquest back, play Conquest. If they bring other games that you like, play those. Just come to the event, support the local convention.
Make it bigger. Take the drive. I know some of the people like that I really enjoy playing with came from New Jersey, and I know it was a long drive for them. I really appreciate them showing up. So like, make the drive, make the event. Everyone was very fun. If you want to play 30K with us, I think unless something changes with events, that's what we're planning for Everwinter.
Yep.
If you want the 40K narrative seemed really cool.
Yeah, tons of people doing that.
Yeah, you played at a previous events
Age of Sigmar
and had good fun with that. So like, if you have a chance to go to a Wiki.IC event, I implore you. If you haven't gone to it, if you're not in the New England area, you should go to a local event. These events are fun. You get to meet a lot of cool people and do an experience. Like, I've never done something like this, and like I feel like this is a great addition to my hobby event. And I look forward to building a force. And the one regret I have, the thing I'll do next time, we can end with that. So the title card, what do we do next time? I'm going to get connected with the community better because I know they were looking for characters to put into the lore. And I actually generated names for my character.
Oh, yeah, and we didn't know about that.
And we didn't know, and I would have submitted that. And
I
think that's cool.
Because the Iron Hands Praetor in the videos, I think, was based on the name that was provided by the player who played Iron Hands with the Leviathan Melta, I'm pretty sure. So, yeah, I want to get in on that, too. I have names for all my characters, but I don't know which names are associated with which characters anymore because I don't write them down. I say, this is Ekadon, my Vigilator, and this is Argabadon,
I actually have
my
that
Esoterist.
on my phone, and after I found out halfway through the first and second, I actually pre-generated them, and then when other people started sharing their names, I was like, I actually know my guy, and I thought that deepened my experience when my guy, when here I can go pull it up.
Yeah, but I just realized, if I know the names, but I don't know the actual guys, then they don't have names. If I don't know inherently that Ekadon is the Vigilator, the Vigilator doesn't have a name. No one is named Ekadon in my force if I don't know who is named Ekadon in my force. I just know that
Breck Slaughterborn is the plucky praetor of the World Eaters.
Oh.
Who hangs out with the Rampagers, and he's backed up by Haska Bloodgrin, which is the standard bearer who used to be part of the Warhounds. So he has a little bit more sanity with him, but he drives into battle with his jet bike and the Seeker Squadron, right? That's what they're, the Seekers.
Skyhunters.
Skyhunters, that's it. So he goes in with the banner blazing.
What is the apothecary's name? I feel like he earned a name, and his surname is going to be Godslayer.
I need to do the research to find one that's fitting. But yeah, he does.
Randomly generate a name, and then that's his first name, and then just give him Godslayer.
That's 100% it.
Oh, we're doing it live.
No, we won't.
No.
We won't. We don't need to do that, but I will do that. Yeah. But yeah, so I don't know if there's anything you would have done, but just it was good.
Signing off. Bye.
Thanks for going. Go to your next event. We'll see you next time.